A protest from Japan as Russia's president pays his first visit to islands also claimed by Tokyo. Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi calling unacceptable Vladimir Putin's trip to the Kurils, known in Japan as the Northern Territories, with the foreign ministry summoning the Russian ambassador. Mr Putin stopping earlier at the Russian island of Sakhalin, where he watched the Navy conducting drills. He then travelled to the island at the tip of the Kurils chain, that's called Iturup in Russia, where he toured a fish processing plant, a hospital and a school.
北方領土は歴史的にも国際法上も我が国固有の領土であります。ロシアの現職の大統領による今般のロフト訪問は北方領土に関する日本の一貫した立場と相入れません。また日本国民の感情を傷つけるものであり断じて許容できません。
Russia and Japan both claim sovereignty over 4 of the Kuril Islands. Soviet forces seized the islets in 1945 at the end of World War II. Continuing dispute, the main reason Japan and Russia have yet to sign a formal post-war peace treaty. While attempts have been made to reach a resolution, Moscow ended negotiations in 2022 after Tokyo imposed sanctions over the war in Ukraine. Dasha Chernyshova is tracking this story for CNA, joining us live from Moscow. Dasha, Moscow stopping negotiations in 2022, but this visit by Vladimir Putin, does that mean there's no more room for any negotiation?
Well, it is a particularly significant visit by the Russian president to those territories. The first time Putin is visiting the Kuril Islands and the second time that the Russian president is there. Dmitry Medvedev been to the island before in 2010, also sparking criticism in Japan. But it does seem to be a very strong declaration, physical declaration, that this is actually the Russian territory. So while the Russian president has been saying that Japan has to recognize the outcomes of World War II, Moscow is not closing the door to its partnership, to its ties with Japan. There has been trade relationship between the two countries. The two were negotiating over the peace settlement. But again, Moscow is saying that the basic premises is absolutely non-negotiable. Russia considers these territories as its own as a result of World War II. And also the timing of this visit is of importance. Right after the president has overseen Russia's Pacific Fleet drills in the Pacific Ocean and also ahead of the anniversary of Japan's surrender in World War II.
Well, Russia may not be closing the door, but it could be, with these moves, suggesting it might be more focused on a narrower circle of strategic partners in the Asia-Pacific.
Well, indeed, we understand that Moscow is fearing the shifting dynamics in Asia-Pacific. Russian presidents also saying that what Moscow is overseeing is actually the remilitarization of Japan, and this is the dynamics that Moscow would like to see stop. But having said that, you have to keep in mind that as Russia is shifting its alliances in that region, it is getting much closer with China and North Korea. So obviously, Russia is not turning the back against the entire region, but says that it is willing to work with the partners with whom their interests are more shared than with others. So certainly for Russia, it is important to maintain that this is the region where Russia can see its borders well protected. The significance of the Kuril Islands for Russia is also in terms of a military and strategic location of those islands in the Pacific shores. So for Moscow, we understand this is the territory where they would like to see more balance of power, no NATO and no militarization of this region, something that the Russian president has been speaking against of, and obviously what Moscow says it will be countering, be it through diplomacy or through the intensification and through the strengthening of its military on those far eastern borders of the country.
Thanks. Dasha Chernyshova there reporting for CNA live from Moscow.